Perfect. First of all, I want to thank everybody for being here on this call tonight. Thank you guys so much for joining. We're hopefully going to be able to start bringing on more speakers to give you different perspectives. We're hoping to be doing it at least twice a month. So thank you guys so much for taking time to come and join. We have an amazing guest tonight. I am going to let her introduce herself because she is just so wonderful. She had us on her podcast a few months ago, and she's now running this amazing foundation that is just doing a lot of really, really good work in Israel. And Ilana, please, you have the floor. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, hello, everybody. It's an honor to come together with you tonight. I have been continuously inspired by the volunteerism that has emerged since our dark day on October 7th, and having the opportunity to meet some of you who have really given of yourself over this 14-month war is a great gift. So thank you. I'm Dr. Ilana Heidemann. I am the CEO of the Israel Forever Foundation. You can find us at israelforever.org and on every possible platform, of course. And we have been working to try and celebrate and strengthen the personal connection to Israel for Jews all over the world for over a decade, 14 years since its growth and expansion. We have reached a global community of what we call virtual citizens of Israel. And Yocheved and I have long discussed how every single member of Swords of Iron volunteers deserves to be recognized as a virtual citizen of Israel. People like yourself who feel so intimately connected with the destiny of Israel that they're looking for new and creative ways to celebrate it, to strengthen it, to do more, mobilize in their communities, but most importantly, also to mobilize in their personal activism. And that includes not only volunteerism within your communities, which some people are really driven to do, but a lot of people these days have had an awakening of their Jewish identity, and yet they have found themselves not really connected to a community. They don't necessarily belong to a synagogue or any group or organization. And so we are blessed at Israel Forever to often be a receiving community for individuals like yourselves who maybe feel like they're outliers. We don't fit in. And therefore, Israel Forever is a great alternative because we provide virtual engagement all year round with informative workshops and lectures that I present, as well as creative crafts that anyone can do in the comfort of their home. Because one of the most important things we need to realize about the future of this unity and pride that was awakened after October 7th catastrophe, we're also seeing people who are shying away from doing so publicly. And so the most important realm in which we can engage with ourselves, our identity, and each other is in the home. So we do a lot of work with parents, grandparents, young teenagers who are looking to ignite something that maybe they hadn't found in the organizational networks that they had been exposed to. And we do a lot of private mentoring for college students who similarly, amongst the dozens of organizations that are out there, and luckily they're raising all their big dollars, and yet people still are turning to our small operation at Israel Forever because of the unique way that we personalize absolutely everything we do, whether that is in counseling or curriculum development or activism opportunities. Israel Forever has become a home for Israel engagement for many Jews of all ages and all over the world. So to open up, I just want to invite you all to come and declare your pride at israelforever.org as a virtual citizen of Israel, and come and join and be a part of what we have grown as a global community for you to be able to feel a sense of belonging wherever you might be and however you practice and whatever your politics are. We try to make sure that we leave all of that to the side because those are the things that divide us. And now more than ever, we want to continuously emphasize the ways that we can feel more and do more so that we are building the unity we want to see.
Can you expand a little bit more on what the workshops, the lectures, the different creative crafts that you offer people to be able to do at home, all these different opportunities? How can people that can't come to Israel get involved? What does that look like? How can they bring it to their own communities?
You know, it's an important question that people ask because people are seeing nowadays, especially all of these big events, and there's rallies, and there's marches, and then there's the activism going on in Israel on the ground, and people are feeling kind of lost. How do I get involved if neither of those arenas are options for my engagement? One of the things that we've been doing, and again, we've been doing it for many years, but specifically within the last year, we've been running a monthly engagement program, a virtual conversation to bring people together to address issues such as compassion fatigue. What does it mean to be a nation who physically and spiritually feels like we can't breathe? We had a program called Israel Can't Breathe. I run a program every year in memory of my mentor, Elie Wiesel, with whom I completed my doctoral studies and whose legacy I continue to carry on with every ounce of work that we do at Israel Forever. And so I carry his message through 2-3 times a year programming that highlights some of his lessons, especially for those who didn't have the benefit to be able to learn from the wisdom of Elie Wiesel in their lifetime. Many of my distant students had never actually heard of him, had never read him. And for those of you who maybe do not know who Elie Wiesel is, he was a survivor of Birkenau and Buchenwald, where he was 15 years old, originally from Sighet, Romania, and he went on to become a Nobel Peace Prize recipient, as well as the author of over 64 books, and some posthumously that are currently even being prepared for publication. But his lessons and his legacies continue to shine light for those of us who learned from him. And my goal is to carry those messages onward. So the types of workshops can be either thematic throughout the year. Again, every month we have different themes where we try to focus on the issues that diaspora Jews are really contending with, and also those that are being faced very differently by Israeli Jews. How can we bridge that gap in a better way? And so, Yocheved, your second question is so crucial. If somebody can't come to Israel, what more can they do? One of the founding components of Israel Forever was that not everyone can get to Israel. And my job was to bring Israel to Jewish life and to Jewish identity and to Jewish homes who maybe they weren't looking for religion. And maybe they're not necessarily only looking to through the political angles of things. They're looking for a reminder. Why is it a beautiful thing to be a part of one of the great civilizations in history? How is our connection to Israel something positive that we can bring to life in our communities? Some of the workshops that I do also are training individuals who want to run a program or a salon in their own community, and they want to be assisted with how to run that in a most effective way. I have done it for women who want to have a small watercolor and wines evening where they taste Israeli wines, and we provide for each of the workshops that we help to curate with them. We provide these resources for them. So really, it is about finding a way to touch on issues that speak to each person in a tangible way, and not always associating it with a financial give, even if we do want at the end of the day and need at the end of the day to raise more money for the important causes all of us are working towards. For example, we provide therapeutic mosaics activities that many of you through Swords of Iron may have heard about with Miriam, Mosaics by Miriam, our collaborative partner. And we've been doing this now for 14 months of providing therapeutic activities for displaced families, traumatized families, and whole communities. It has been an incredible experience to watch and also to see them document how it feels to create something beautiful out of shards of brokenness. It's a metaphor for their own experience. So making those hands-on activities, I believe, are very important to bridging that geographical gap that we feel. I think that there are creative ways that people can combine the volunteerism of what they want to achieve towards Israel and Israelis, but also awakening volunteerism in their own family, colleagues, friends, because a lot of people today are struggling emotionally. They barely have time, they barely have energy. As I mentioned, we're all struggling with what I call compassion fatigue. And how can we fit in the idea of being social? I have one woman from Michigan who I have been mentoring for many months, who's unfortunately found herself in physical danger, under physical threat. And she's very afraid to go public with any of her pro-Israel activism. And so what we've tried to do is to connect her quietly and virtually with individuals. And then she's able to have a virtual program. So it is in a safe space. And I think that as much as that is a controversial term somewhat in America, the safe spaces of that were created for those who weren't pleased with the election results or whatever it might be, those who are feeling that the Zionists are the danger. I think that those safe spaces are something that we all can recognize is so important. I see there's a message in the chat of who is this that's presenting. Again, my name is Dr. Ilana Heidemann. I am an expert in Holocaust studies, antisemitism, Jewish identity, and peoplehood empowerment. I am the CEO of Israel Forever, and the world is our oyster when it comes to being able to create unity initiatives that help to really enliven some of the volunteerism that I think people are looking to do even from far away.
Ilana, we get the question all the time. People are, as you said, people get nervous and scared to show their Judaism, especially with all the anti-Semitism going on. People get nervous to even tell their family and friends that they're coming to Israel. Nonetheless, coming to Israel to volunteer, it's kind of like a taboo subject. And we get the question all the time, how do you approach this? What do you say? What would you say to people that are feeling very alone, that love Israel, that want to come to Israel, whether they can or they can't, people that are feeling very alone at home? How can they get involved? Are these conversations available for them to join anywhere in the world? How can they bring it to their community, or how can they involve their community?
One of the things that I've really been trying to reach out and do more of is to offer people the opportunity to create, as I mentioned, the virtual conversations, the virtual gatherings, so that it feels like a social encounter with like-minded individuals, much like you've accomplished with your volunteers group for Swords of Iron as well. You've given people a platform. When we come together in a private, closed Zoom, people feel confident. They already feel like they've received, forgive me, but a little bit of a communal hug, like, wow, I'm not alone. I have been invited as a result of people joining my programs. They've said, hey, wait a second, can you do this for my small group? And that is exactly the kind of word of mouth connection and impact that really is going to make a difference, especially in the coming years, because whatever has been ignited around the world is not going to disappear, certainly not right away. It's going to take a long time and a lot of suffering before we are able to quash the vitriol that is calling for the genocide of Jews. There is going to be an upheaval, a continued upheaval of attacks against Jews. And more people are going to feel that they cannot wear their star. David, I had a meeting just last week, and he says, he's a visitor from America. He says, I cannot walk around like that. I wouldn't allow my child to walk around like that. Do you wear that when you come to America? And of course, yes, I do. And yes, I've been targeted when I have come to America. But I know that my experience is minuscule compared to those who are living that reality every day. You mentioned, Yocheved, a lot of people are afraid to come here. I can tell you that there are a lot of Israelis who are afraid to leave Israel, because what we see happening everywhere else in the world, there's no protection for Jewish life or for the
100%.
life of the friends of Israel.
I was sitting with
People
a
are
friend.
feeling targeted everywhere. So I think
Yeah.
what we always want to encourage people, especially don't forget that people are facing a financial obstacle to coming here and volunteering. Not only is it the price of the ticket, but it's where will I stay? How will I cope? How will I get to the volunteering? I met with one family. They very much wanted to fill their entire week in Israel with volunteering. But at the same time, they hadn't been here in 15 years. So they ended up feeling bad that they didn't do enough. And so I'm always trying to encourage people, maybe we need to kind of lessen our expectations of each other and of ourselves and start from a smart, realistic point where we can say, here's a small difference that I want to make. I'll give you an example. Those who are coming and volunteering in the farms are amazing. Something that I myself, as a single mom and a businesswoman, I'm not able to do, just pick up and run down south. However, I do guide groups. I take families and people down to the southern communities and to the sites of destruction. Again, I've been a Holocaust educator for over 35 years. And so for me, as an atrocity memory expert, I can balance what it means to do volunteering in those areas and to be a witness to the death sites. From far away, what could you do? The types of education that are required to help our own people understand the importance of Israeli agriculture are a huge benefit. What you could do to help spread information, that is a type of volunteerism as well. Being able to bring together some other people, and even there was a program that I ran in the memory of the Zionists of the early 1900s who could only dream that one day there might be a Jewish state where we could be safe and live free as Jews. And they would, in their summer camps, they would receive a small box of sand in Poland. And in this box of sand, they would have to try and grow a seed. And who could make their seed grow as a way of saying, I want to be a part of the growing of the land of Israel? And this was, summer camps in the late 1910s and the 1920s. So nowadays we can awaken that feeling. We have a program called Plant Israel at Home, where we can learn about Israeli wildflowers and Israeli agriculture. And it's something that people can do in the physicality of their own personal space at home. Or, as we've done with several communities, they've decided to do an Israel at home garden activity open to the community, where we match the seeds with Israeli wildflowers. Prior to October 7th, we were able to distribute Israeli wildflowers to those who wanted to run such activities. And we hope that, and the seed company was actually from down south. We hope in the next year or two, we'll be able to revive those kinds of projects. But in the meantime, we don't let anything stop us. We have one group of women who decided that they wanted to try to plant kalaniot, the national flower of Israel, that of course the southern region is most known for, that beautiful red flower. So on one hand, we started to find places where people could buy kalaniot seeds, and they got together. A group of, it was a mother and daughter event, and they got together, mothers and daughters, and they could talk about it and learn the brachot for planting, the blessings for planting. But then there was also the idea of the metaphorical planting at home, our understanding, and how we could create it even as bar and bat mitzvah programs for kids, where their tzedakah projects would go to save a farm or other such initiatives that are on the ground here in Israel. And I have great respect for KKL, Karen Kayemet, and for JNF, and they do great work. But sometimes when we direct our efforts towards small grassroots initiatives, we're really able to feel the tangible impact that we're able to make. And that's really the kind of volunteerism that touches a lot of people's hearts, both the volunteer that's far away and the grassroots initiative here in Israel that gets to benefit from it.
Ilana, there's a question in the chat. But I do have a question for you, and it kind of feeds one into the next. What does the volunteering spirit mean to you? I mean, we see thousands of people, myself included, that felt so pulled to Israel to come help and support after October 7th, and it's not slowing down. And it's good that it's not slowing down because there's still tons of work that needs to be done. This is going to be years and years of healing for this country. But you have a very different perspective because you do a lot of work with people the world around the world. And first of all, we have, before the call is over, we're going to have to let everybody know how they can get involved if they want to get involved and how we can continue to involve our community in the work that you're doing. But you see the volunteer spirit from such a different angle. What does that mean to you, and how have you seen it manifest since October 7th? And then Robin, we'll get into your question after.
I think that for me, volunteerism is a way to remind every single individual that we are not alone in our obligations, our obligation as a community where we live, but also as Am Yisrael, as a nation, that we have to all give of ourselves. And what always guides me is the phrase "Lo alecha hamlacha ligmor." It is not upon you to finish the work, but you are not able to relinquish yourself from the obligation to be involved in it. And I think that as somebody who every day, especially in those first months of the war, when I was seeing all the volunteers coming, I was really hard on myself. Nothing I did was enough. Nothing. I always felt like I was not volunteering enough. I was not doing what other people were doing. I was not able to, go to the fields. I wasn't able to, as I said, a single mom, so I'm not able to just pick up and leave my kids. There were so many things that we had to juggle, and I had to redefine myself in terms of what kind of volunteerism I could engage in. I do have some unique methods of volunteering that I do. I'm a home chef for celiac soldiers. So that my daughter is celiac, and so I have a sterile kitchen. And right away, I understood that celiac soldiers who were out on the front lines were very much struggling with being able to get the foods that met their dietary requirements. That need continues until today. And so every week I bake bread. I'm pretty proud of my gluten-free bread recipes. You can find them on our website, or let me know if you have celiac needs in your family. Because I think of the soldiers and I think of my daughter when she's going to go off to the army, and I only pray that we'll still have this celiac brigade to help our soldiers. I think that we've all had to redefine what it means to give as much as possible of ourselves, because we're all also struggling so much emotionally. I think I'm also seeing some of the people I've counseled are struggling financially because their businesses are struggling in America, and their employment is at risk in England. And so they're very, very wary of having any involvement in public volunteering that has to do with Israel because they're afraid for their professional future. I think we've all had to redefine ourselves. Am I able to get to Israel, and how will I spend my time when I'm there? And if I am thousands and thousands of miles away, how can I make sure that that connection remains strong? So the redefinition is real for every single one of us. One of the roles that Israel Forever has been playing is trying to help people match the interest and passion, and also the personality, let's say, of each community that reaches out to me to say, here, let me help you curate something that is perfect for the target audience you're trying to address and the volunteering goal you have. One of the examples is an interfaith community that reached out to us that was very enamored with our mosaics project. And so they wanted to create a joint mosaic between their local synagogue and their local church that had become kind of partnered in their pro-Israel activism since October 7th. And that, just showing up at that mosaic event, is for some people not enough volunteerism, but at the end of the day, what is enough? It's not upon us to finish the task. It's for us to realize we are never free of it. And we just have to take on how much we can. That's God's message to us, that we have to be able to, know that the tests that are given to us and how we face them is a test of our own strength and our own abilities. And so every chance we have that we can make an impact, whether it is volunteering in the proper definition of the word or volunteering of our time and our energy and our heart, those are crucial ways that we can really be making a difference.
I think we all feel like we could be doing more. We all share that same feeling, or it's something I hear from so many. And I
Yeah.
would love for you to, first of all, everybody just being on the page is doing something. Like I tell everybody all the time, it takes $1 to get to 1 million. Every hour volunteering, every comment that you make supporting someone else's volunteering and encouraging them, everything that you can do is doing enough. Like anything that you are able to give, we need everybody to help in their own way. And so we really try to encourage people to find their way to help. That's one of our your way to help, find your way to get involved. And Anna, it sounds like you've really done a phenomenal job at helping other people, or helping everybody. If they want to, you help them get involved from around the world. And it's beautiful. But one of the questions that we have two questions. So I'm going to start with Robin's. It's what do you think that people with limited ability are able to do? Senior
What do
citizens.
I think that what? I missed that.
What do you think that people with limited ability are able to do? How can they make their impact? People that are seniors or disabled, everybody can help. And how would you recommend that they help best?
So, a couple of things that I think are really special in terms of limited abilities. First of all, to remember that there are others with limited abilities who can learn and gain inspiration from your own story. So, one of the things that I often encourage people to do is to connect with a community that shares that disability level. We have a program where we try to work with Israelis with special needs who, of course, struggle with a different type of trauma and coping during this time. We have done it through letter writing, through video sharing, craft sharing has been really meaningful, actually, to the point that we got so many gorgeous pieces of artwork and letters of love and friendship from our Healing Hearts program that we've just created the most special blessings blanket that you can get. It's all nice and fuzzy. And it is made up of all these blessings that we've received. But instead of only buying one for yourself, you can actually gift it to a family in need here in Israel. And you can identify the target audience, that the target recipient you would like it to go to. So it can go to a special needs community. I've worked with one group of teenagers who wanted to give to teenagers suffering from trauma in Israel. And so we do a matching for each person or group in the diaspora and the group that we can reach them here. And that's a lot of that grassroots direction that we try to give for the volunteerism.
Ilana,
I
we're
could
going to need
say
a list.
also,
We're going to need
what's
a full
that?
list from you. We need you to post full lists of how people can get involved because this is amazing and it's super
Absolutely.
creative.
Absolutely.
Very
I'd be happy
creative.
to. You can come and check out our homepage. So much of it is right there at your fingertips, and you're welcome to reach out to me. And I'm happy to come and speak to anybody's community virtually because that's what makes it easy, no matter your limitations. I'm going to give you actually another example. We have a virtual citizen of Israel who started joining our virtual gatherings already as of, I think it was last November or December. And he ended up letting us know that he was actually he was homeless, and he has been autistic all of his life and always been kind of an outsider no matter where, whether it was in Hebrew school or in a synagogue. And now he's an older, he's an older man, but he says, what is his activism, what is his volunteering? He is a poet, and amongst the homeless community where he lives, they have each week poetry readings. And so each week he presents a different poem that he has written about October 7th, about Israel, about Jews and Jewish identity. And he reads it and he says that the way it is received is shocking, that it opens eyes and it opens hearts. And I think, and he says, and I'm nothing. I'm just, I'm just a man who I live on the street and this is the only thing I can do. And that is a pretty tremendous impact that this man is able to make on a group of people nobody would ever consider as a potential target audience, right? And what did he do? He ended up going and with his community, he said, let's do a craft together. And so everything becomes a type of volunteerism, even if it isn't always getting your hands into the land of Israel and getting them dirty and picking those vegetables or packing packages. I'll tell you another. I had a 13-year-old boy who was about to celebrate his bar mitzvah, and he decided that his main project was to collect from friends cards, postcards for distribution to soldiers. He had no idea what was going to happen, but so far we have received already 2 separate deliveries, each one of hundreds of cards. He says everywhere he goes, somebody wants to write a message to an Israeli soldier. And then I have another young girl who, for her bat mitzvah, she wanted to address Israeli Holocaust survivors. And so we've really done our best to try and help people find an exclusive voice and an exclusive way that they can use their voice that they'll be very proud of and feel fulfilled. And that's always something we're trying to help each other with, aren't we? We all want to feel fulfilled with every little act.
100%. And so, looking ahead, what role do you see the Israel Forever Foundation playing in sustaining these activities? Everybody always asks us, what's next? What's next? I always say volunteerism didn't start on October 7th. There's still a lot of work that needs to be done. But how do you see the Israel Forever Foundation continuing to do the work that they're doing?
My dream is to help more people find us because we are quite a small organization making a huge impact on the personal life. We are, again, very grassroots, and we aren't any sort of awareness campaigns of the massive organization. And that always makes it hard because how do you attract attention? Israel Forever, I hope, will continue to grow in our following and in our members so that we're able to do more direct impact on people's lives and communities. I think that Israel Forever will also continue to provide the most expert level resources that I can develop so that individuals have answers to the questions that they have not known how to ask. An example is our Beyond the Lies booklet. It doesn't sound like volunteerism, but when you give of your own time and your energy to bring together people to talk about beyond the terrorism, how do we not just focus on the politics of lies, but rather how do we ourselves reflect upon the truth? How do we internalize it? And hosting those conversations, I believe, is something that we at Israel Forever will be able to aid individuals in doing, coming together in very local, small, grassroots, private ways. As I said, I believe, and again, this is not just new to our generation, but even prior, in the 20 years prior to the Holocaust, you often found that Jewish communities were turning insular. They didn't want to be seen publicly. They wanted to be able to protect themselves and yet still have their voices heard and to hear one another. I think that those kinds of salons are going to become even more essential. I hope that our global community of virtual citizens of Israel continues to grow so that we can connect the volunteers and ambassadors who are virtual citizens of Israel on shared topics of interest, aligning them also with a grassroots initiative where they can have a direct impact. That direct impact can be helping with the rehabilitation of a community that is still displaced from the north, or it can be addressing the bereaved families who, as I'm sure most of you know, have not really had the opportunity to mourn the loss of all of those murdered on October 7th, or even the soldiers fallen since, or the citizens who've been murdered in terror attacks since. We have no opportunity to really mourn anyone until our hostages are home. So I know that for many people, volunteering to aid the fight for hostages is crucial. I would say that there are many other efforts for volunteering that we've forgotten about. We have a lot of petitions happening and circulating around the world. They're great. Where do they go? We have some letter writing campaigns. I don't think enough. We need to get back in that old school day like we did during the Soviet Jewry fight. And we need to remind people that sometimes we've got to pick up the phone. And if you were to pick up the phone every day for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and call the International Red Cross, call different offices at the United Nations. If we had 10,000 calls being made a day, 100,000 calls being made a day, that is a lot of volunteerism, making a different kind of change than those who do feel confident to wave their flag and go to rallies. They also serve a purpose. Sometimes I wonder to myself, why are the rallies not on the doorstep of every single embassy and consulate and the United Nations, in every single local community, at every humanitarian aid organization? Not a single shekel of humanitarian aid has been offered to Israel. Yes, we have received military aid, but one of the reasons that we need to keep this momentum going is so that our volunteerism doesn't end also once our beloved hostages do return home. So I'm always encouraging people to think outside of the box, help work together wherever you are. You don't have to all be in the same locale. And there is so much more that we can be doing. And I could keep going with what can be done in education systems in your local community. Yes, I see one comment right here, like the Pens of Sword WhatsApp group. And I think that that's great. End Jew Hatred has a wonderful WhatsApp group where every day you're getting 5, 6 calls to action of letters that you can write.
Actually,
I'm
we're getting like
trying.
hundreds a day, and it becomes,
That's right.
when you're working
And you
full
get
time,
lost, don't
it
you?
becomes
It's
overwhelming.
overwhelming.
Pens for Swords, there's hundreds every single day. It's overwhelming.
That's right. So
Feel free to
sometimes I wonder.
Feel free to post this on the Facebook page, though. Guys, I really want to encourage you, if you hear about different things, if you hear about different initiatives like this, share it with the Facebook page, because we really want everybody being able to be involved.
I think that a lot of us don't know where to go, where to direct these calls, how to direct or let people know about it. We hear about it, but we don't have access to the proper resource.
So a
What
lot
do
of
you
them are side chats on WhatsApp.
So you
They
guys can
are. I'll
always,
tell you something else about the WhatsApp chat. So, for example, the Lions of Zion, which is it's just 2 women who run it, but they have a network from End Jew Hatred where they get the information of the different causes, and I think it's great. It's impossible to keep up with without feeling like I can't. Oh my God, I have work to do. Oh my God, I gotta make dinner. I gotta,
Yeah,
right?
it
It's
comes in
really
all
but
the
hard.
I
way.
really
Yeah.
want to say, this is exactly what Sword of Iron is there for other people around the world to be able to pick up when you can't. So if you see these opportunities come across your screen and you say, I really want to do this, or this is very important, I've done it and we need more, or I don't have the capacity or the ability to do this, this is where you can screenshot, you can share the information with the community. Like, this is exactly what we are
And
here for, is to pick up the slack and to help each
And
other.
I'm going to add something to that. We are not distributing enough facts in print, posters, flyers, banners, things that can be put into mailboxes, things that is what the alternate side is busy doing, and they have the numbers. Other types of volunteerism, just last week, we actually ran a webinar at Israel Forever on how to use your volunteerism to be a Wikipedia editor. For people who love history and they want to get involved in it, being an editor on Wikipedia, which is being totally dominated by revisionism of all facts relating to Israel and Jewish history and any connection of Jews to the land of Israel, we are being completely washed out and erased from these historical pages. Worse, we're being demonized. That's a type of volunteerism. If you are a retiree and you've got some time on your hands, that is a great thing that you can be involved in. It requires some training, but there are things that can be done. Sharing on social media is always everybody's go-to, but have you ever thought about sharing in other Facebook groups? Because we see in the algorithms that many Facebook groups have actually minimized in their activity since the war, which is very interesting, right? We're
We've
seeing
seen
that
it.
like they're
We've
getting
gotten,
directed towards one form of
yeah,
engagement and the groups are falling by the wayside, but we're
yeah,
being shadow banned in
yep.
social media on every platform. So that group engagement, I believe, becomes even more important. And plus, let's not deny the fact eventually those might become the safe spaces that we need in order to have open conversations without being demonized. I mean, how many times a day do I get the, die, you Zio, devil, and you and your
Yeah.
children should burn in hell? It
100%.
is destructive.
I'd
Yeah,
like
it
to,
It's destructive to our spirit and it's destructive to our hope to make a difference. So some people, and yes, I saw somebody commented, how can you find out about being an editor? We're going to be resharing our webinar. You're welcome to come and check that out at israelforever.org.
We shared on
Um,
Sword of Iron so that people in our community can get involved in this
Yeah.
because we have a lot of people with time that just say, how can I help? And we personally, we went through a month where Facebook shadow banned our group and our engagement rate dropped and it made no sense. And then it went back
Yes.
up and then it dropped again. And
It's happening everywhere.
it's happening to
It is
everybody.
happening to Jewish groups. We've had our page taken down. We have been shadow banned to the point where, for example, our Facebook group has over 400,000 followers. And again, 100% organically grown over 14 years. I'm quite proud, I won't lie. And yet we are able to reach 3% of our list with any post. They are silencing us, which means we need in our volunteer spirit to say, what can I do to get our voice amplified in a different way? We cannot rely only on the mainstream media or the social media platforms. We have to go personal. I saw somebody asked, what is shadow banned? That means that something in the social media feed algorithms is actually inhibiting the visibility of Jewish or pro-Israel groups. They
Yeah.
can be reported endlessly. The most simple Shabbat Shalom can suddenly be reported. If you post anything about the IDF, you can be reported and you can have your entire page not only taken down, but lost. You'll see huge groups that have just lost everything on their pages that have been developed over years, and we have to fight the system. That is another form of volunteering because nobody's paying us to do all of this work. It's work that we have to say, I'm going to commit myself. And the goal is to make a difference. Now, what's the problem? Is it a measurable difference? Are we making a dent? This is where my belief is there is no such thing as combating anti-Semitism. There's countering it. And more importantly, there's countering the toxic impact of anti-Semitism. What does it do to me as a Jew or to my children or grandchildren? How do we teach them pro-Semitism, as I call it? How do we teach them to have such pride in who we are and what we stand for? That is volunteerism of the mind, teaching other children. I have a woman in Minnesota who there is no really Jewish school in her area. So they started a grandparents group where grandparents bring their grandchildren and they alternate who's the host, and they come together and they tell stories and they teach a song and they have a vocabulary list because we have all these resources at Israel Forever where you can get the lyrics to a song and vocabulary list. So little by little, you're also learning Hebrew. So even if we think of it, is it education? Yes, but it's also a type of volunteerism because it's something we're doing to be a part of the bigger task at hand. And that is Jewish survival.
100%. And I want to wrap it up with some words of wisdom. If you can leave us with one message, what would it be?
Say the last question again.
If you could leave us one message, what would it be? I go around and I ask everybody, I ask soldiers, I ask volunteers, I ask everybody, what is your message to the Jewish people and to people that support Israel?
Never, ever give up your hope, your commitment, and the desire to change one fellow person at a time. That is how we do measure our impact. Can we touch someone's heart? Can we fill someone's home? It does not have to be, and I'm very, proud to see all the galas and the events and everything that's going on. But what about those of us who can't show up? I just did a reel on this today, actually, because I feel like, wow, I too would love to maybe get dressed up and go to an event. And Yocheved, I know you guys are running these great events, and that's awesome, but not everybody can. So sometimes we want to just redefine, how can I make one step? And that would be my blessing for everybody, is find one creative way where you're able to, especially this time of year, how can we amplify our light? How can we be the lamplighter? If you've never heard the beautiful, beautiful story of the young man who is living in an old shtetl, and he goes to the rabbi and he says, you know, there are those who are students of Torah, and there are those who are great teachers, and there are those who are working in the community. I'm nothing. I'm just the guy who lights the lamps in the streets at night. That's his only job, is to climb a ladder and light the candle that lights the street lamps. And the rabbi turns to him and he says, but don't you understand? Without
Bring your
you,
light.
no one would be able to see in the dark. Every single person can put on their ribbon. It's like a religious process for some of us when we put it on in the morning. You know, I feel like when I change into my pajamas, I still want to have it on, you know, and taking a breath every morning. Everything I do, every time I play a different song for my children and they say, don't forget the hostages today. Every little act, every message we share, we are lighting the lamp of hope in somebody else's heart. So my hope would be for each of you, come share your pride as a virtual citizen of Israel. Be more, do more, and be proud of all you're doing already, because the job is not ours to complete, but aren't we blessed by Hashem to be a part of it? And I'm really grateful, Yocheved, for the opportunity to share with your community tonight.
Thank you so much. You've been
Thank you.
so insightful. You've shared so many tips with us. Please, Ilana, share everything that you can, all of your resources, ideas, ways that our community can get involved. Please continue to share it on our
You
page.
know, it's funny. I never share it on the group because the Sword of Israel volunteers, Swords of Iron volunteers, is always about volunteering in Israel. And so I feel like if I share it in the group, it's like, okay, it's diaspora engagement.
It's
But
the
now
same
you guys
thing.
know Israel Forever is here for you. And
Yes.
we're always sharing, and you can reach out to us directly and let me know if you're looking for something like that you dream of. Oh, I have to add a new one. I think this is a very important campaign that just got underway, and it is a Jewish book collection effort. There are, I'm trying to convince my parents to start packing up their books too. All of us have these massive collections of beautiful Jewish books, and many local libraries do not actually have any areas in their libraries that are about Jewish life, Jewish pride, and Zionism, our ancestral indigenous rights. So the more we bring these books to the libraries and help encourage them establish a relationship with local libraries and even local schools, because the other side is doing everything possible to create huge displays of pro-Palestinian anti-Semitic materials. One of the risks, if I can just comment, is if you just bring boxes of Jewish books to a library, you're also running the risk of them being destroyed. And we do not need to see another generation of book burnings of Jewish books. So it's a new volunteering effort. Go to a local library, talk to them, ask them if they join you in this project. And it's another way of spreading knowledge, a different type of volunteerism that we as Jews can do in order to make sure our legacy doesn't end in our generation. In 10, 20, 50, 100 years, they also need to be knowing our stories.
Ilana, I love your creativity. Please continue to share it with us on our page. It's really amazing, and I think we can get a lot of traction going with different communities around the world. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you to everybody on this call for taking time to join us as well. We're going to be posting it for everybody to share, to watch, to rewatch, to show their friends, their families. And I'm going to reach out to Ilana right after this to start working on compiling a list for all of you on how you can get involved, what you can do from home, and This hopefully we can really make a bigger impact, a huge impact around the world. I always say there are two wars happening, one on Jews, one on Israel, and we are here to support both. So get involved. Thank you guys so much for joining us this evening. Thank you again, Ilana. You're doing amazing work, and kol hakavod to you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. It's been a pleasure talking with you.
Have a wonderful night, everybody.
Bye.
God bless.